Given that the letters HTML stand for Hypertext Markup Language, hypertext is really at the core of what HTML is all about. Hypertext means the links from one page to another, from one page to another place within the same page, from one page to a specific place in another page. Those links that link the pages together are what make the hypertext do its magic. The links are created with the A tag. A, in this case, stands for anchor, and the href attribute, which stands for hypertext reference. In the case of this link that we're looking at right here, the reference itself is a URL, a Universal Resource Locator. A URL is distinguished by having a protocol and a colon and / and a host location, and sometimes a path to the document within that host location. So this URL is a link to a website. It's one of my websites, webmonster.net, and in this case, the host name is www.webmonster.net, and the protocol is, of course, HTTP, which is almost always used for web documents. HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and that's the most common protocol used for websites on the web. Now, I've gone ahead and loaded this document up on my website at bw.org, and we can look at it here in the browser. We're using Mozilla this time because, given our limited resolution on this screen, it does the best job of displaying the URL where we are. We can reload the page and see that this is the page here that we had in our text editor over there. And we also have the status bar on so that you can see when we roll our mouse over a link, see the links are underlined and in blue. When we roll the mouse over the link, the status bar displays the URL. And that'll become a little bit more useful later on when we start dealing with relative URLs. In this case, we have an absolute URL points to an absolute specific place on the web. Now, when I click on this link, it'll bring up the page there from www.webmonster.net and load up all the spiffy artwork, which you can see here was created by Don Barnett, who I think has done some other courses for lynda.com. And we have the fancy schmancy rollovers there, and we'll learn more about rollovers in our JavaScript lesson later on. And there we have it. We can bring it back down to normal size and use our back button to get back to the page we were at before. Now, sometimes you want a link to show up in a different browser window, in a brand new. Before we move there, notice that now that we've clicked on the link and come back, the link itself comes up in a magenta color instead of the blue of the links that we have not clicked on yet. That's called a visited link, and we can control how that's displayed in the body element, and we'll cover that later on. For now, let's go back to our text editor and make a change to this. I would like, when I click on that link, for it to show up in a new browser window. So I'm going to insert a target attribute and a special reserved word called blank, which means bring up a blank browser window and target the link into that window. So we'll transfer this over to our website, and I have a shortcut here on my desktop to get there. Put in my password and we'll bring it on up. And that document is in the links directory, and it's this hypertext document, and I have it already selected over here, and I'll go ahead and send it. So I'll close that, and we've transferred our file, and we now have the target attribute set, and we'll go over to the browser and reload. Now when I click on the WebMonster site, it'll create a new browser window and bring it up there. There we have it. Sometimes you want to do that if you have a link that goes outside your website and you'd like to make sure that when they close that window they can still easily find their way back to your website. A lot of sites do that by default, and sometimes they put up a little notice to that effect. So that's absolute links. In our next lesson we'll talk about these relative links and learn how those work.